working with over 500 founders since December 2023, and I'll tell you what, this is in fact the greatest lesson that I've ever learned so far. Building a startup, especially today, is according to me bullshit. What really matters today is building a startup ecosystem. So I'm going to set the stage with two things. What is a startup ecosystem and some statistics around it. And I'm going to try and make this speech extremely crispier than a packet of Lay's chips. So what is a startup ecosystem? It's basically a 100-kilometer radius within which you have people, organizations, and resources that help in the growth of startups. Coming to the statistics around it, there are over 348,000 startups in India. And over 313,200 startups will fail. That's a 90% failure rate. To replace the failing startups, new startups will come. They will also fail in the same failure rate. Last year, just 6 Indian startups have become unicorns. What is a unicorn? It's nothing but a privately held company that is worth over $1 billion. But on the other hand, in the US, 56 startups have become unicorns. But these are just numbers that I took from an online research, right? So here's where my personal experience with these numbers come. It goes back to this place which is quite near Chennai called as Pondicherry. So Chennai was turning back into Atlantis again in December 2023. And I was like, Chennai, screw you. I'm going to go to Pondicherry and escape the floods. So I go there, it was midnight. I was standing with my friend at Pondicherry Marina. I was chilling and enjoying the breeze. Standing with a friend, not a girlfriend, please note that. So I turned to him and I asked him, bro, how is the startup ecosystem here like? His response, வேற level. Pondiya. இது வெறும் சரக்குக்கும் பார்ட்டிக்கும் தானே. For my non-Tamil speaking friends here, let me translate it for you. Pondicherry is synonymous with cheap booze and raves. I could have just laughed it off and let it go, but I didn't. So the very next day, I organized a tiny meetup for say 7 startup enthusiasts. And fast forward to today, we have over 500 community members. We've done 15 events across 5 cities. The startups within our community have a combined valuation of over $100 million. And the investors within our community have a combined funding capacity of over $300 million. So let's just rewind back to where all of this started. Pondicherry, right? I faced 5 significant struggles. Let me list them out for you. And let me share my pain with you. So the people who are attending our events, right, like these guys were business enthusiasts. But the issue is that they were claiming to be startups without knowing what the hell a startup was. And to try and explain what a startup is to them is basically like explaining what is UPI to your grandmother. 2, there are no angels or VCs here, meaning where will the startups go for funding? Where will they go to, scale? 3, the policies, they sounded like fantasies. The Aspiring Puducherry Startup and Innovation Policy came out in 2019, and it was nothing short of fancy words, no action, and no accountability. Because the government can only do so much, right? And then comes infrastructure. There's a very horrible infrastructure. We're talking about a city of over 900,000 people with over 3,000 incorporated companies, but there's only 1 proper incubator and 2 major co-working spaces. And then finally, worst part, lack of mentors. Why? Because talent, they move to cities like Chennai and Bangalore faster than you can cross Velachery traffic. So I started to dig in more, and I basically found out that this is not just the case of Pondicherry. This is the case of the entire nation. And here's exactly what I found out. So over 60% of our Indian engineering and management students, they are unemployable. Why? Because our education system lacks creativity, problem solving, and entrepreneurship. Over 88% of our Indian startups cannot raise a pre-seed fund. Over 98% of our Indian startups cannot raise a Series A round. And over 1400 VC funds, that is 80% of the VC funds in India, they just centered around 3 cities, Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai. For a person like me, and for every other person in the room, I believe, it takes at least 1 straight month to incorporate a company. But if you take countries like Estonia, which has a smaller population and a smaller economy, it just takes about 4 to 5 days to incorporate a company. Speed determines survivability in the world of startups. And our startups face a lot of survivability issues, putting India in the 63rd rank of the Ease of Doing Business Index. And most startup networks, most startup mentoring networks, they're restricted and confined down to the metropolitan cities. But over 50% of the 348,000 startups in India, they come from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So, see, I'm not trying to state out all these problems into your head to discourage you in terms of building startups. What I'm here to do is, I'm trying to make you ask questions for the future. Yes, the very theme of this TEDx talk. So here are some questions. 1, how can we turn creativity, problem solving, and entrepreneurship as fundamental as mathematics and physics in our academics? How can we democratize and decentralize startup funding beyond just angel investments and venture capital? How can we influence the crafting of smart and actionable startup policies? How can we build real and meaningful mentorship networks that are not just restricted down to occasional LinkedIn DMs? And how can we improve access to digital and physical infrastructure so that our startups scale in an affordable manner? See, by stating out all these problems and by stating out all these questions, my goal is not to advise the government. My goal is to persuade you, yes, you, each and every single one of you, to build startup ecosystems. And here's exactly how each and every single one of you can do it. And trust me, it does not matter if you're a founder or not. It does not even matter if you've worked with a startup or not. Here's exactly how I did it, and it's bloody simple. So, 2 words, okay? Gather people. That's all that it actually takes. And I have this 4-step formula, a 4-structure formula that I use to gather people and build startup ecosystems. 1, market research. So you basically live in a city, right? You basically live in a place, right? Learn about your local startup ecosystem. Learn about the startups, their stages, their struggles, their industries. Learn about the local investors, the government bodies, the policies. 2, start connecting with these people. Organize a tiny meetup. Bring together all the founders, investors, mentors, and enablers that you know. Probably do it in your own office. If you don't have an office, do it at someone else's office. If you don't have an office at all, do it at a cafe. Worst case, you're probably going to get kicked out. And it's okay, it happened to me twice. 3, brainstorm. So now that you have your own meetup, now that you have all these connections in one place, what do? Don't freaking talk. Just listen. Learn and understand the problems that these people face, and also the expectations of the solutions that they have in mind. And finally, take matters into your own hand. So say your connections, they face legal issues. Bring together chartered accountants, company secretaries, or corporate lawyers. Solve their legal issues. If they have issues with the infrastructure or the policies, bring together, note down those problems and bring together government bodies and take those issues to them. If your connections, lack funding, bring together local HNIs, help them set up syndicates and SPVs, help them learn about angel investing. And finally, if your connections don't even have any clue about startups, collaborate with the local educational body, build an incubator with them, or build a startup club with them. Go one step further and bring in serial entrepreneurs and VCs to coach these guys. So you just have to do this consistently. You just have to do these 4 things month over month. And in your initial stages, you probably wouldn't know most of these people, and that's okay. I didn't get to do most of these things till I reached my 5th meetup. Or maybe you're just too lazy to build startup ecosystems. Like, why the hell should I do that? So let me just leave you with this. I started building startups at the age of 13, and I started building startup ecosystems at the age of 17. I'm 18 now. I'm still searching for colleges, by the way. But I'm already connected with over 500 plus, with over 500 investors, founders, syndicates, SPVs, VCs, private equity firms, and so on. In fact, the very last year, I was sitting in the backmost seat of the same venue for last year's TEDx event. And today here I am standing in front of you in sharing an extremely powerful idea. Don't just build startups, build startup ecosystems. See, it's not about individual startup success stories anymore. It's about being the mind behind 100 successful startups. It's about being the mind behind every successful Indian startup. It's about being the mind behind every single Indian startup. So as my favorite mentor, Dan Ram, who also happens to be a 6-time TEDx speaker, he always says, start now, start simple. With that said, I look forward to seeing you all build startup ecosystems. I look forward to seeing you all build India. Valga Valamudan, Nandri, Vanakkam.